Every single time you use an app, post a photo, or buy something online, you are interacting with this huge, invisible world. It's the engine that powers the entire internet, but it's a part you never actually see. So today, we're going to pull back that curtain. We're going to look at the back end and find out what's really going on behind the screen. I mean, really think about that for a second. You tap a button on your screen and boom, your photo, your comment, your order, it just exists out there in the world. How does that happen? Well, it's not magic. It's this carefully choreographed dance between what you can see and what you can't. So here's the plan. First, we're going to split the web into its two fundamental halves. Then, we'll dig into why backends are so absolutely critical and how developers managed to tame the chaos of the early internet. After that, we'll take a look at a modern tool called Node.js. And then finally, we'll put all the pieces together.
Okay, so to really get this, we have to start with the single most important concept in all of web development, this great divide between the front end and the back end. This separation is absolutely key. So on one side, you've got the front end. That's your screen. It's the buttons, the text, the images, all the stuff built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's literally everything you can see and touch. And then, on the other side, you've got the back end. That's the hidden machinery, the servers, the databases, the application logic that does all the heavy lifting. The front end talks to the back end, but you, the user, you never see it.
So you might be asking, why not just put everything on the front end? I mean, it would be super fast, right? Well, yeah, but there are some major trade-offs. The front end is really responsive, but it's also completely insecure. A user can actually see and even manipulate the code running on their device. The back end, on the other hand, is where you put all the important stuff, the secure logic, the really intense calculations, and the code you want to share between, say, your website and your mobile app. The only downside? Every single action has to make a round trip to the server and back, which adds a tiny little bit of delay.
And that brings us right to the core question. If front ends are getting so powerful, why do we still absolutely need back ends? Well, the answer really boils down to three critical pillars.
It all comes down to these three things. First, and this is the big one, security. You have to have a trusted zone where your code is safe from meddling. Second, performance. You don't want to drain someone's phone battery trying to do a massive calculation. You offload that heavy work to a powerful server. And third, compatibility. A backend makes sure your app works for everyone, even people on older devices.
But you know, security can feel a little abstract. So let's make it real. Let's imagine a developer built a simple little banking app and made one critical, disastrous mistake. Okay, look at this piece of code. All it's supposed to do is handle a transaction. It takes a user's current balance, adds an amount to it, and then saves the new total. Seems simple enough, right? The problem, the fatal flaw, this code is running on the front end. It's running on the user's own device, where they can see it. Take a look. Where is the disaster just waiting to happen here? Here's the danger. Because that code is on their device, a malicious user can actually stop it mid-execution. They could change their starting balance from, say, $10 to $1 million right before the addition happens. The code would then happily add $5 to their fake million and save it. This is exactly why critical logic, especially for things like banking, must live on a secure, trusted backend server that the user can never, ever touch.
So the need for backends has been obvious for a long, long time. But building them wasn't always so neat and tidy. The early days of the web, well, they were a bit of a chaotic Wild West.
In the very beginning, there were no rules at all. But as the web exploded in the 90s, specialized back-end languages like PHP and ASP started to appear. They were powerful for sure, but they introduced a brand new problem. Developers started mixing database code, page layout, and business logic all together in one giant, unreadable file.
And that complete and utter mess got a nickname that was just perfect. They called it back-end spaghetti. A tangled, confusing plate of code that was an absolute nightmare to fix or update. So to fix the spaghetti, developers needed structure. They came up with design patterns, and one of the most famous is MVC. That's model, view, and controller. The easiest way to think about it is like a recipe. The model is your data. Those are the ingredients. The view is the final presentation. That's the finished dish in a pretty glass. And the controller? That's the recipe itself. It's the logic that takes the ingredients and tells the view how to display them. This separation made code clean, organized, and way easier to manage.
So, how are developers building these structured backends today? I mean, there are tons of great tools out there, but one that really truly changed the game is called Node.js.
So, what is Node.js? Well, for years and years, the language of the web browser was JavaScript. It's what made websites feel alive. Node.js was this totally revolutionary idea that basically took JavaScript and broke it out of the browser, letting developers use that very same language to write code on the server. And this was a huge deal. All of a sudden, a developer could use just one language for everything, the front end and the back end. Node is also incredibly efficient for real-time applications, things like chat apps or live score updates. Now, it's not perfect for every single job, like, say, heavy-duty scientific calculations, but for a huge slice of the modern web, it is a complete game changer. And Node.js has this powerful sidekick called NPM, the Node Package Manager. Remember that back-end spaghetti we were talking about? Part of that problem was just trying to manage all the different pieces of code and libraries you were using. NPM totally solves this. It's like a giant shared library of code. If you need a web server, you just tell NPM and it automatically finds it, downloads it, and hooks it into your project. It is order out of chaos. All right, so we've covered the why and the how. Now, let's actually see just how simple it can be to put these pieces together and create a real working backend server. Now, I know building a server sounds really complex, but with Node, it boils down to just a few quick steps. You make a new folder, you use NPM to add a popular web server tool called Express, you write a few lines of code in a file, and then you run one last command to start it. That's it. You've got a working server on your computer. And this is what that code actually looks like. It's surprisingly readable, right? That first line just pulls in the Express framework we installed, then you create your app. The most important part is that app get line. That basically says, hey, when someone visits the main homepage of our site, just send them back the text, hello world. And that last line, it just tells the server to start listening for visitors. That's the whole thing, a fully functional backend in just a handful of lines. So we've gone from a simple click on the screen to the complex, invisible machinery of the backend. We've gone from spaghetti code to structured patterns and modern tools. It is the hidden engine that makes our entire digital world possible. And now you know how it works. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?